Hi guys, welcome back to Dadlicious Eats, and today we're going to make a delicious winter coleslaw. I always like to use vegetables that are in season at this time of the year. So we've got delicious red cabbage, we've got the aniseedy fennel, and then to that we're going to add in apples. We're going to add in blue cheese that goes very, very well with all of these ingredients. We've got celery, and then we're going to top that off with some walnuts and some delicious mustard oil dressing. Right, let's get cooking. So onto the ingredients. We're going to have half a red cabbage, some white wine vinegar, groundnut oil, a fennel, some mustard, a lemon, some blue cheese, I'm using Stilton, walnuts, a couple of small apples, a couple of sticks of celery, and a touch of salt. So the cabbage is first up on the chopping board. Make sure you've got a nice sharp knife, as they could be a little bit tough to cut. We're going to put half away for later for something else. And we're just going to cut this nice and thin so we come out with lovely thin strips of red cabbage. If you're a subscriber, welcome back to the channel. I really appreciate all of your support and all of your comments and your likes and your visits. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you're not already a subscriber, why not click the button now? I've got tons of videos I want to share with you. Hopefully you'll find them interesting and informative, and I'd really love it if you were to like the video. Helps with the algorithm. And if you've got a comment, if you've got a question, just pop it below and I'll definitely get back to you in the next few hours. So for the cabbage, we're looking pretty good there now, and this is what we were trying to get, nice thin strips. You don't want it too big because ultimately it's a coleslaw and you just want to be able to pick it up with your fork. So pop that into a large serving bowl. And this is going to make enough probably for about 6-7 people as a side dish. Next up on the chopping board is the celery. So we're just going to pop off the ends of that because we don't need them, they're a bit dry. And then we're just going to, again, slice this nice and thinly. On the subject of knives and cutting, actually, I'm going to come out with a video in the next week or so, just talking about the types of knives you actually need in the kitchen, because over Christmas I've seen so many offers where you've got 7 knives in a set or 9 knives in a set, and you just don't need that many, and it can be a little bit confusing at times. So we'll talk through that. I appreciate not everyone does like celery. Some people can find it pretty stringy at times, especially when it's old or the bigger pieces. But I think this adds a great crunch to the coleslaw. If you don't like it, just leave it out. And that's the same with any of these ingredients. Tweak it as you feel you need to. So we'll just pop that into the bowl. And we're going to move on to our final main vegetable, which is the fennel. Fennel is such a lovely winter vegetable, and I think this goes really well with that slight aniseed flavour in the coleslaw. Again, if you don't like it, you can replace it with something else. But this has a lovely crunch to it, and it just combines really well with the flavours. So we're just cutting this nice and thinly. And then just cut it once across the middle so you've not got too large a piece. Pop that into the bowl. And then we're going to give all of this just a really good mix with our hands. I really love the colours in this coleslaw, and I think at this time of the year you just need that brightness and that contrast of colours to bring things to life. So onto the apple. So I'm using just 2 small sweet apples. Any that you've got in the house are perfect. So we don't need to peel them, we just need these nicely thinly sliced. The apples themselves bring a nice sweetness to the dish because you've got very savoury elements of the vegetables, and the sweetness just ties it all together. And we all know that apples and blue cheese go so well together. It's the simplicity of this coleslaw that I like, and Sometimes you can spend hours creating dishes and whacking hundreds of ingredients together, but actually take good quality produce, pop it together in a coleslaw, and this goes really well with meats. So you could have this with cold meat, slices of ham, you could have this with hot meat, you could have this with barbecue. So the other day we had this with some ribs that I'd smoked, and this just went really, really well with it. It's an alternative to the bog standard coleslaw that you might buy from the supermarket or you might make yourselves. Now, these apples will go brown because that's what apples do when they're exposed to the air. So we're just going to take half a lemon, just squeeze over some of the lemon juice, and that will just stop the chemical reaction that starts to turn apples brown. Just makes it a bit more visually appealing. Give that a good rub around. And then we're just going to pop this into the bowl as well. If you don't have apples in the house, not to worry, either leave them out. If you've got pears, pears would go really, really well as well. So let's move on to the walnuts. We're literally just going to drop these into a hot, dry pan for a couple of minutes just to toast them off, and it just enhances the walnut flavour. And while we do that, we'll make the dressing. So we're going to pop in our oil. We want about 2 teaspoons or so of that. So we've got some groundnut oil, we've got some olive oil, and then a dash of white wine vinegar. You can use white wine vinegar or red wine vinegar, and then about a teaspoon or so of mustard. So I'm using Dijon mustard here. You could use English mustard, you could use American mustard, whatever you've got. The important thing is I don't want you to go out and spend a whole ton of money. Use whatever's in the cupboard. You can add a dash of salt in if you like. Now the walnuts are done, so we're just going to pop them into the salad as well. And then we add our blue cheese. So I'm using Stilton here because that's, in my opinion, the best blue cheese there is. And we're just going to take chunks of that. Just break it off with your hand. You don't want it too small because you want something a little bit substantial that you can bite into and pick up. You don't want to be searching around with your fork for crumbs. We're using about 100 grams here. If you want to use more, fine. If you want to use less, fine. This is particularly good over Christmas because if you've got some leftover cheese, and any blue cheese I think would work really well here. So we'll give that a quick mix around with the spoons. And then just to finish this off, we're going to start spooning our dressing over. So it might look like there's not a massive amount of dressing. So you see a lot of coleslaws that have a lot of mayonnaise or yogurt that are bringing them together. But this is just enough so that once you start mixing it around again, you've got this very light coating of this vinegary, oily, mustardy dressing. Let's just give that a quick mix around. And then we're pretty much good to go. I really appreciate you making it all the way to the end of the video. If you've got a question, let me know. I'll get back to you. I'll be back with more great recipes soon. Until then, take care, guys.